What things can no one say or do in front of the Queen? First of all, you can't shake the Queen's hand. If Her Majesty extends her hand first, then okay. But even after that, any more touching is not permissible. What if the Queen does not shake your hand? You should not just stand there in confusion. You must bow or curtsy, and try to make it elegant. When greeting the Queen, don't you dare call her by name. One should always refer to her as Your Majesty. What can and cannot be talked about with the Queen? If you have not failed the Queen's greeting, you may have a conversation. But remember, you can only speak when spoken to, and never lead the conversation with Her Majesty. You may be lucky to ask the Queen a question, but think carefully about what to ask and how to do it. For example, you can ask what perfume she's wearing, but using the word scent instead of perfume. What other word cannot be used with the Queen? Surprisingly, the word pardon is off limits. We may think it's formal, but apparently it's like a curse word to the royals. Instead, just say sorry. If you are walking with the Queen, be careful and try to keep the exact same pace as her. Don't walk too slowly or ahead of the Queen. This ensures you are always alongside her, and she can be introduced by her staff when needed. It would be nice to eat after a walk, right? But the usual meal is also full of rules in the palace. You must follow the lead of the Queen when it comes to approaching the table. No matter how hungry you are, do not sit down at the table until the Queen has done so. That also applies to starting or finishing a meal. Everyone at the table can bite off the first piece only after the Queen has started to eat her meal. And you'd better eat quick, because as soon as the Queen finishes, everyone else must stop eating. What about drinking? What are the rules here? Of course, the most important thing is not to slurp. If you have tea with the Queen, hold the cup correctly. Use your thumb and index finger to hold the handle, while the middle finger supports the bottom. Surprisingly, the rules are different with coffee. You must loop your index finger through the handle. Need to use the restroom after drinking? You can do it, but don't announce your intentions. Just simply say, "Excuse me," and leave it at that. After spending time with the Queen, you probably would want to have something for yourself. Well, forget about taking a selfie or getting an autograph. The royals aren't allowed to sign autographs because of the risk of having their signatures forged. And about a selfie, remember the no touching rule? Even if you could take a selfie without touching, it's still not allowed. But don't be upset, because there are always photographers at such events. When can you say goodbye to the Queen? Well, actually, you can't until she allows you. Do not try to sneak out from the event until the Queen gives you permission to leave. But even when you get permission, don't forget about another very important rule. You cannot turn your back on the Queen. What happens if you break any of these rules? Nothing serious, but you'll probably be embarrassed, and the Queen will give you her disapproving look. So, would you like to spend time with Queen Elizabeth? And would you be able to follow these rules?